Welcome back to Luther Sewell's Woven in Time by Dugan. Today, you might notice I've got on my Trash Pandas shirt. This is in preparation my trip back east. I have a good friend that works with the Angels, and Madison, Alabama has a,
Well, you mentioned him in the last video, Louis.
yeah, Louis, that I mentioned that helped me name the song that I sang in the last video. He works for the Los Angeles Angels, and he's a very good friend of ours. I met him through my daughter Jill, or Olivia. He calls her Olivia. Um, and neither Jill or Olivia are nicknames with her. That's her name, Olivia Jill. So, uh, but it seems like none of us can stick to one name in our family. But anyway, he, I'm going to visit some family in and around Madison, Alabama, and while I'm there, hopefully I get to see a Trash Pandas game. So I'm wearing my Trash Panda shirt just in preparation for that. Make sure it fits still. Um, but I've been thinking a lot. My name is Luther Thurman Sewell. I was named after two of the best people I know. My uncle Luther Johnson, who was my mom's brother, he was overseas in World War II when I was born. And then my granddaddy's name was Ed Thurman Johnson, also a very honorable man that I mentioned in other videos. And I'm proud of those names, even though I go by Dugan. So many people know me as Dugan. I really love the name Luther, and I was named Luther after my mom's brother. Um, but we called him Luke because you don't call anybody by their name in our family. Um, but I've been thinking lately what an influence he was to me, and I would love my brothers and anybody in my generation to share some stories that they have about their Uncle Luke or Uncle Luther Johnson, because he was such a good man and such a part of my life until I was married, really, and even after, um, but especially before I was married. And seldom a day goes by that I don't think of my Uncle Luke uh, Johnson. And one reason is when I shave, I think about him. And I don't know why but it was impactful. I do know why it was impactful, because it changed the way I did something. And I started shaving in the seventh grade. Um, I didn't have, like most young men, when they begin to reach puberty and they need to shave, they've got a mustache. I didn't have that much of a mustache, but I had fur on the side of my face. You could, I could pull the hair out. And I was in the seventh grade one Sunday in the afternoon, and my dad, I was watching a football game or getting ready to watch a football game, or it was halftime or something. My dad come in. He said, "Dude, come in here with me." And we went in the bathroom. And Dad had a double-edged Gillette razor and a cup with shaving soap in it. You put a little bit of water in there and lathered it up, and you took the brush and brushed it on your face, and then you shaved. So he said, "I want you to shave." I said, "I don't want to shave." I said, "I started shaving. I had to shave every day." He said, "You're going to shave." I said, "I don't want to shave." And I protested. He finally said, "Well, you're going to shave or I'm going to shave you." And I didn't think he'd do it. So I said, "Okay, you do it." And I just stood there. Well, sure enough, he started putting the lather on my face. And when he picked the razor up, I said, "I'll do it." And he stood there a minute and he watched me do it, and I shaved. And I don't know why I put it off. Because the first thing I did when I shaved, I cleaned up, probably put some aftershave lotion on. And then I took off out to my Uncle Herb and Aunt Bob's house. Didn't say anything. I just walked around a few minutes, because at that point in time, everybody was telling me, "Dugan or Josh, you need to shave. You need to shave. You need to shave." Well, I went walking around out there, and my Uncle Herb was the first one that saw it. I'd been out there a little while walking around, and he said, "Look at Dugan, he's shaved." And he took his hand and rubbed the back of his hand to my face. He said, "Look at that. That face feels like a baby's bottom." And so that was my first experience shaving. But then, sure enough, it wasn't probably, at that time, I probably shaved once a week or so. Because I had a lot of hair on the side of my face, and it eventually filled out all around. Um, but it wasn't long after that that my face was really smooth and really tender, and the soap dried out because that soap that lathered up, it was I don't know, it wasn't like the lather that you put on your face that doesn't last as long. And I would shave the side of my face, and then I'd shave my chin, and then I'd shave my upper lip, which was the last thing. But it was also where my breath was coming out. And by the time I got up there, it was just dry soap up there. So I was basically dry shaving, and it really just set my upper lip on fire. And one day, me and my Uncle Luke was talking, and he said, I told him something. It may have been the first time he ever realized that I was shaving. I don't know. But he said something about it. I said, yeah, I said, I don't have any problem with shaving. I said, other than it's just, I said, it breaks my upper lip out when I shave because by the time I get to it, um, I said, it's dry and it really hurts. And I said, then it's red and stings for a day or so sometimes. And I don't know why I didn't think of that, other than I guess my Uncle Luther Johnson was a deeper thinker than I was. He said, well, Josh, why don't you shave your upper lip first? And it don't have time to dry out. Um, a very innovative idea. But now I don't wait till last to shave my upper lip. And every time I shave, I think about that discussion that my Uncle Luther and I had. And it was impactful in my life. It's so, as so many other things in my life, with just conversations and just examples that he set for me. Um, how long have I got? Um, Another incident with my Uncle Luther, Mike Johnson, his oldest son. Mike was 5 years younger than me, and Mike has since passed away too. But Mike and I were real close. Every Sunday, my Uncle Luke would bring Mike and Linda, and then when Susan was born, Susan, they'd bring down and just unload them at our house, and they'd spend the morning and late morning and afternoon, and sometimes into the evening until Luke came back and picked him up because he didn't live on the hill with us at that time. He had already moved away. But he'd bring them down and drop them off, and always, usually, Mike and I would play basketball down at the barn or down in the pasture. We'd play football. Sometimes it's just me and him. There wasn't anybody left, and then later on, Dwight would come and play with us. And um, I remember Mike used to always commentate the football game as he played, and Mike grew to be about probably 6'6" or more. Uh, Probably weighed over 300 pounds. But regardless of what his size or age was, he always referred to himself in doing the commentating, and he did the commentating as he was playing, whether it was football or basketball. He was also the announcer and the commentator. And every time he would get the ball or run the ball or score or whatever, it was Little Boy Johnson. And Little Boy Johnson did this, Little Boy, and I can hear it today, and it just makes me smile. So Mike and I were always close. There's 5 years difference in our age, but we were always close. So I can't imagine me bullying Mike. And this happened years before he was a teenager. I may have been 11 or 12 then. I don't know. But we were out in the side ditch of the road that we lived on, Mizell Road. Mike and I were doing something out there, playing in the ditch or talking or something. And my Uncle Luther was on top of a house that my granddaddy was building, that I guess he built for my Uncle Gravy and Aunt Laverne because they moved into the house when it was completed. But Luke would come down in the evenings after work, and he would help the house too. And he would he was on top of the house. I don't know if he was drying the house in or putting tar paper down or what, but I remember him standing up on top of the house, and we were down closer to my house, between my house and the and where he was working. And I remember him standing up on top of the house, and he says, "Josh, nobody likes a bully. You don't want to be a bully." And I don't know if it was a conversation that he overheard or if I was trying to intimidate Mike. I can't imagine me trying to intimidate Mike because I love Mike Johnson. I love Mike. I love playing with him. Uh, I knew that Mike looked up to me, and we just had a really good rapport. And so I can't remember. I mean, I can't imagine me doing it, but I was 10 or 11, 12 years old. It possibly could have been. But I don't remember what was going on, but I do, and I've always remembered uh, many times in my life my Uncle Luke standing on top of that house and kind of shouting out to me. I was probably 50, 60 yards away from him. He said, "Josh, nobody likes a bully." And I remember that. And it's been very impactful in my life, along with so many other things that my Uncle Luke, examples he said, and just things that he shared with me that made me a better person, in my opinion. At least made me a better person when I adhere to the things that he said. And he's not the only one, but he's the one that's been on my mind lately. And I just wanted to share that with you today. And um, I got one other story that I'll tell. I was probably about 16 or 17. My Uncle Luke Johnson loved to drive fast too. And he had a 57 Ford, I think it was. A 57 or a 59 Ford. It was light blue. And he loved to drive fast. Him and my Uncle Gravy and my Uncle Billy Herbert, all three of them, they loved driving fast. And I remember he would come and pick me up when I think it was my junior or senior year. It could have been both years. He would come and pick me up after school and take me up to his house to babysit his three oldest kids, Mike, Linda, and Susan. And Susan was just a little girl then, toddler, maybe a little more than a toddler, but she was a little girl. And I would go up there and babysit. And Pisgah Church Road it had residents scattered all along the road up there, and it was a 45-mile-an-hour speed zone all the way from the crossroads all the way to his house. And there were times that I probably saw that speedometer on 90 or 95 miles an hour on that little stretch of road. But I remember one day we were going up through there, and he wasn't speeding that day. I guess there was some traffic on the road or whatever. And a little over halfway, just before we got to his house, uh, there was a Hillcrest Baptist Church set on an intersecting street, and it was right on the crest of a hill. And Pisgah Church Road crest, and it kind of turned a little bit to the right. It wasn't much of a curve at all, but it just went a little bit to a little bit to the left. And the intersection of that street that Hillcrest Baptist Church was on was right there. And we topped that hill one day, and he had to put on brakes real quick. There was an accident. A 1950 Chevrolet had pulled out in front of two guys on a motorcycle, and they didn't have time to adjust, and they rear-ended that Chevrolet, and it threw both of those riders over the car. They hit the hood and went into the ditch on the other side of the road, and they were shook up pretty bad. We got there before I don't think any ambulance, any police, anybody was there. We got there, and Uncle Luke got out, and I got out and looked around, and he looked, and everybody was okay. Nobody needed help, and he had to get me down there so he could do what he had to do that evening. So we got back in the car and we went on down. He never said anything that I remember, nothing memorable anyway, about that accident. But what I remember most of all, my Uncle Luke Johnson, I don't ever remember him getting over about 50 miles an hour ever on Pisgah Church Road for the rest of the time I ever had ridden with him. He still liked to drive fast, but he knew better than to top that hill there at Hillcrest Church because he he'd learned his lesson from somebody else, and he set a good example for me, and that don't take unnecessarily risk. That's three of the things that I remember about my Uncle Luke, and I'm sure there's others that I'll talk about. But I loved him dearly, and I appreciate the person that he was. Um, Again, I'll mention him again, I'm sure, as well as other aunts and uncles and influencers in my life. But for right now, uh, you guys, if you want to hear something about somebody or a story that you know about somebody that I might know, either tell me and I'll tell it, or if you want to, a relative or a longtime friend, somebody from my past, get in touch with me, and I'll see if we can't do it together. And if I don't remember the story, you could tell me the story, and maybe it'll bring back some memories, some remembrance, because I have, since I've been doing this, there's been a lot of things that's been brought to my mind, that's been filed away in my brain somewhere that I hadn't thought of in years. So for right now, let me tell you, be pretty,